right, guys, this is our first episode of what's the show called? Nerd Age. This is the Nerd Age podcast. This is our first episode. There's 4 people here, and their names are Corey, Josh, and Jonah.
What's up?
Hey,
what's
going on?
My name's Mick.
We're finally doing it.
Yeah.
It's been how long since we've had this planned out and wanted to start doing it?
Yeah, a long time.
A long time.
Too long?
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about years. I mean, as for those that don't know, Corey and Josh are related to me. And so we've talked about...
I knew that.
Oh, well.
I knew that as well.
Clueless. First time hearing about it.
So we've talked about for years of doing a podcast, but we've never really done it. And Mick is a podcaster extraordinaire. So good friend of ours. And so we decided to finally do it. So decided to do it.
Yeah, and I thought, honestly, the whole reason why we were doing it is to hang out. Honestly, it's a great excuse. And we get to talk about what we love, which is nerdy stuff, obviously.
Right. Everything and nothing else.
That's right. And I know that, Jonah, you've been looking forward to something that's happened recently. And
you've been really wanting to like talk about it a lot.
Right.
I think we all have.
Snyder Cut.
So I don't know. What's the date? Oh, it's Easter. Happy Easter, by the way. The Snyder Cut came out a couple weeks ago, and I think we've had some good time to think about the movie and what we want to talk about it. So, Jonah, why don't you give us your opinion on the movie?
Well, okay. First of all, let me start out, and because Jonah is a huge fan of this movie, I'm just gonna spoiler alert. He's a huge fan. But for me, I thought it was good, really good. But there are a few things that I wasn't so excited about. But it was generally good. One of the things that bugged me about the movie, and this movie obviously was good, just in general, but it was a little long for me. And it was how many hours did it clock in at?
4 hours.
4 hours and 10 minutes.
4 hours.
How many seconds?
That's a long movie for any movie.
Yeah,
like how long is like Return of the King?
It's like
that approaching
4:10,
4
I
hours?
think.
Extended edition?
Extended edition is 4 hours.
The only
I'm pretty
edition
sure.
to watch, by the way.
That's right.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. You talk to people that think a 4-hour movie just in general is too long. I think it matters what type of movie it is.
Well, and so that's a huge complaint of a lot of people, the 4 hours. But
I think it's reasonable.
But the thing for me is, to me, it's like it wasn't put out in theaters. If it's a 4-hour movie in theaters, then I'm like, yeah, it's way too long. I would have loved it if they put Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX. I would go and watch it in a heartbeat. Like, I want to watch it in IMAX.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, but the 4 hours, if it's on a streaming service, to me is like, I've seen a lot of people that have split it up and watched it like in 3 parts, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so to me, like, I love what I thought the movie flew by. Like, it didn't seem like 4 hours to me. But again, like you said, I have a bias because I love the trilogy of Zack Snyder's movies. So
right. That's what I
for
told
me,
my mom.
it flew by.
That's what I told my mom. I said, hey, don't sit down and watch it all. It won't be great for you. Cut it into 3 parts. That's what
it is literally
divided into
chapters.
Yeah,
There's like
it's
7
parts. Yeah.
Seven
it's
parts.
like designed for that.
Do it that way because they were originally gonna release it as like 7 episodes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, like a series.
That's the thing, though, is like a new show drops on Netflix and people are like,
Oh.
binged it in one night, 12 episodes. You're like, okay, so
That's 12 hours. Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, like I watch anime and I'll binge like a whole season of anime in a day, like, and that's not a big deal for me.
Right.
So why was it so different? Right, the pacing, right?
Because you're a hater.
I hate this movie. No, but it's the pacing of like an episode versus like a whole movie, right?
Right.
So over 4 hours, there's not that constant up down like an anime, like,
Right.
or like
Well,
an episode, right?
and I think-
25-minute episode versus 4 hours.
I think like you're a fan, like you like Man of Steel and BVS, but like I think those movies are amazing. So for me, I'm like invested, and not only that, but I was like from the get-go when they started in that, like when there was like the inklings of or the rumor of there's Snyder has a cut. Like I've been following
How many years has that been?
Well,
Like
since
2?
2017.
Since 2017.
Wow.
They started saying like this isn't his movie, and so anytime Zack Snyder would drop a hint of something or talk about anything or drop a picture, a black and white picture, it was like I would text Mick or something or be like, oh my gosh, I want to see this movie. So for me, the investment in it was like, I can't believe I'm now finally watching something that people said never existed or would never be released, or if it ever was released, it would be unfinished and like 20 years from now. So the fact that it was released and they gave him more money to actually finish it, that to me is like, that's why I was so invested in it. And like I've watched it 4 times or 5 times. And
streamed it how many times?
I don't know. More than 30.
Watched it more than 4 times. You've watched it like 25 times.
No, I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. But I've
you did like in parts
on Saturday. No, on right now today.
Yeah,
I went to my parents' house, and so I put it on the PlayStation while I was away to stream it, and then I had it playing on my phone at the house while it was going. So we need views.
The metrics, baby.
It is about the metrics. They're seeing the views. If we want to restore the Snyderverse, guys, if we want Justice League 2 and 3, we need to.
Has HBO Max put out numbers like that?
They haven't.
Do they do that, or
they haven't put out the numbers for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and a lot of people are upset because they just put out Godzilla vs. Kong's numbers, which came out Wednesday. So it's been 2 weeks since the Snyder Cut dropped. No numbers. There's been numbers from other companies that have said, "Oh, this was streamed this many times," but no numbers from HBO Max or Warner Brothers.
That's Warner Bros. Stepping in.
But it could be either way, right? It could be either really good and they don't want to admit that it was a mistake of theirs, or I think it could be not as good as they wanted.
Here's what I think. I think it was good, and so they don't want to continue his vision. And so if they release the numbers and people are saying it's really good, then more people are going to be like, well, you have an opportunity to do it here. If they were bad numbers, they would release them to be like, see, no one cares about it. No one wants to watch it. I think so. Wow. I mean, from what the track record of Warner Brothers has been, and again, full disclosure, I'm biased towards Zack Snyder. So to me, what I've seen from my perspective on Warner Brothers is that they have been kind of shady in as far as how they've treated Zack Snyder. He was actually, it just came out a while ago, like a week ago, that he was actually going to quit because he filmed the Green Lantern scene with Jon Stewart. And then Warner Brothers said, you can't use that. And so he replaced that with Martian Manhunter. But he was thinking, well, I'm going to quit because I said I wanted to do whatever I wanted. And then he said, people have been fighting so much for this that I'm willing to cave on that because they said they have plans for Green Lantern. And so I don't know. Warner Brothers has kind of for years screwed people up. And so to me, I don't trust anything. So why haven't they not released the numbers? If if people didn't watch it, then you can be like, no one wanted to watch it, but they just seem to not release it. And a lot of people are saying, so one company released some figure that there was a 68% increase in HBO Max downloads of the app during that weekend when it released. And so people were saying that was Zack Snyder, but then that came out later and people started saying, oh, it's because it was Godzilla vs. Kong was a week later. And they actually, the interesting thing is Godzilla vs. Kong was supposed to release a couple weeks after Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then they moved it up, which seems like a weird thing to do if you want to have people watch. Like, you want to give your releases space. So why would you, when you have such a big thing releasing, why would you put something up so close to it? It just doesn't make any sense.
I guess to play devil's advocate, even though I agree with you, is it different that it's on a streaming service? Because like when we're releasing in a theater, that makes a lot of sense. But a streaming service, maybe it's like, well, you
need content.
It doesn't really matter. Like I'm sure it's like they don't want to release them a day apart or on the same day. Right. I get that, but like, how long apart was it? Like 2 weeks?
It was a week, just a week.
A week? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something, but
I don't know. Did you watch the Kong?
I did watch Godzilla vs. Kong.
When you were watching it, Or when you started, did you watch it like right when it came out?
We will
like the same
It
day?
came out, I think, Wednesday, and we watched it Thursday night.
Okay.
Oh no, we watched it Wednesday night. It came
Okay.
out. We watched it the night it came out.
So did you have issues with it? Streaming it? Any like
No.
issues? We had issues with
Right.
Snyder Cut. So that might be a little evidence.
Do you guys know what I did after watching Godzilla vs. Kong?
What?
I put my phone and streamed Zack Snyder's Justice League while I went to sleep.
Oh my god. I'm just saying that's good for them because I mean the servers had a hard time keeping up.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's been stuff that's come out from other countries. Like it's the most streamed movie in Canada. It's the most streamed movie in India. It's the most streamed movie in Russia. So the movie has made an impact globally. Like people are watching it.
Yeah.
Like it's been the most streamed in Brazil. So if you're looking at numbers worldwide, those don't go into HBO Max because HBO Max hasn't released around the world. So those are based on these other companies that have released, like in England, it was like Sky or something that had the rights to it. So they've released their numbers and they've said it's been the number one movie. And on Google Play, it was the number one movie for 2 weeks. And not only that, but BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League was number one. BVS was number two. So people are going back to watch those movies as well. So there seems to be a demand for it. And I think even a lot of the critics that were critical of Zack Snyder's vision, I think with Marvel being done with their big like storyline with Endgame and all that, I think people are now ready to give DC a chance because Marvel's done similar movies. I mean, it's been a similar story, and Zack Snyder's world is darker, and so I think some people are being like, "Hey, going back to those and now maybe not comparing them to Marvel movies. They're saying, "Whoa, these have a different feel to that's pretty cool." So I think that's a good thing.
I think that's the problem, though, that the studio, because they did it from the very beginning, right? Man of Steel came out, critics didn't like it. And then they were supposed to make Man of Steel 2, and then the studio was like, put Batman in it
Right.
so that we can catch up to Marvel. And then they didn't like BVS, and then Justice League happens, and he, gets pulled. Well, there's issues with the studio again. But I think now what you're saying is that there's a lull, so people want to go back to the other stuff. I think WB's like, we have all these movies coming out and we're going to build. I think I saw an article the other day that was like, they're, working on their interconnected universe. So I think that's, which is stupid because two things can exist at the same time. I think people are generally like, know the fact that like, hey, this is an alternate universe now, I feel like
they just came out with, I think IGN posted that the Batman movie is going to be on
Earth 2.
Earth 2.
Yeah.
So maybe there's going to be like at least some acknowledgement that there is like the multiverse, which they did say in Justice League.
Yeah. I mean, they've set it up. They've set up a multiverse that you can have multiple characters. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. You could have, I've always said this, HBO Max needs content because they don't have a lot of IPs. Like Disney Plus has all the Marvel stuff, has all of Star Wars. They're going to be putting out stuff. Warner Brothers has
Game of Thrones, right?
DC. So yeah, Warner Brothers has DC. So if you do Game of Thrones and then you can do Zack Snyder's world on HBO Max and stuff like that. And with production values these streaming services are dropping like $300 million, $250 million on shows. So you could do that with that budget and make something look good and have it on HBO Max and have Zack Snyderverse on HBO Max. And then you could do a simultaneous release of what they're doing. You could do theaters and HBO Max, like release it in IMAX and you can get money that way. I think it would be, to me, it's a no-brainer to not pursue that because what you need in a streaming service is content.
Well, imagine a movie like Deadpool. I think that budget was around $70 million.
Yeah.
That didn't look like a $70 million movie. Imagine like the next Justice League taking place in the more apocalypse
Oh, absolutely.
Like you could, I mean, come on, you could do that for cheap.
Well, they filmed
like 70
that
million, right?
in Zack Snyder's
Right?
70 million.
So,
well,
for a movie, I mean, that's like.
Or think of Joker. So the Joker was what, 70 million as well, and it made over $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. Did it really?
Yeah, and so if you can do. So one of the things was they were supposed to do when Zack Snyder had mapped out his plan. His original movie was gonna end with the same Deathstroke scene. Yeah. And that was going to lead into Batman, the Batman versus Deathstroke movie that was going to be incredible. But it was, guys, trust me. No,
believe it.
So, but Joe,
I think they was going to win an Oscar, actually.
I mispronounce his name all the time.
Joe Manganiello, I think.
Joe Manganiello or Manganiello or whatever. So he's been on like podcasts and YouTube channels and all this stuff, ours soon, interviews.
It's only a matter of time.
He has been talking about how they were going to do an origin movie of him, like $70 million, street level, his origin story that would have been like a no-brainer. Like people would go watch it. It's low budget. It's like that would have been cool. A prequel, like you're doing it. Even if it makes half of what the Joker made, you're making money. And so, but they canceled that movie. I just think that kind of stuff would have been so cool because people really like those actors that they chose. And I mean, he's telling about the whole story that he blames Batman for the death of his son, and that's why he has the vendetta after him, and that was going to play into Batman's movie. Yeah. And then, and he was going to end up, like, Batman was going to have to recruit Batgirl. Like, there's going to be Batgirl in Batman's movie, in Ben Affleck's movie. Like, all that stuff was already, like, planned out, and it sounds really cool. So it's just like, man, why did they cut that? Especially, and I think now those movies, if they're low budget, could totally work in HBO Max. And HBO Max would just be like, hey, we need content. Let's do it. Like, we've got these actors that want to do it. We have a budget to do it. It's not going to be connected to whatever movies they already have planned, Aquaman 2, Birds of Prey, or whatever they're doing. It's not connected to that, so it can be done. I just think
let me ask you
it's a no-brainer.
What if they say yes to what you're saying? Let's do it. Let's do it. But Zack Snyder's not there.
Oh, he totally is.
But what I'm saying is, what if he's
I don't need him? I don't need him to direct.
Okay.
But if he is, he like has
the
his
grandmaster.
He has his production company, which is Stone Quarry,
right?
Which
it's Jonah's favorite logo.
It's a pretty sweet logo. But he has a vision. The reason Ben Affleck came to be Batman is because he loved Zack Snyder's view on the storyline that he was going to do. That's why Ben Affleck joined as Batman, and that's why he was excited to direct his own movie. WB came in.
That's right, he was,
and they totally started to change what they had talked, and that's why Ben Affleck got annoyed with WB and left as Batman. But if Zack Snyder's back and producing, and they work together, I'm totally good with that because he knows what the story's going to be. And that's what I want. His story to me is compelling, and I think they could do it. He doesn't have to direct. I don't think he needs to direct, but him being involved as a producer and guiding, helping with the story treatments of it. Obviously, I want him to direct Justice League 2 and 3 to finish his story, but like the Batman movie and the Deathstroke stuff can be delegated to other directors, but he be a producer.
Now, what would you say about a lot of people saying that it's kind of not original, or it's kind of dumb that they're trying to kind of do what Marvel did?
It was written before Marvel.
Okay, so you tell them that?
It's clear. It was written.
It is clear.
His plan.
It has been foretold.
His plan was before.
And it is better.
His plan was before. The movie was supposed to come out before the Avengers. So anybody that says Zack Snyder's Justice League is copying Marvel, the movie was written before.
Before?
Yes.
Before. When did Marvel plan it out? Was it after Iron Man 2? When did they do?
Well, he had their
plans for the whole
Zack
MCU.
Snyder's released his storyboards of like what they were working on, the whole plan.
Okay.
And that was in his office. He's released those storyboards, and that was done before. I have them on my phone. You want to see them? Okay. You want to know?
But yeah.
I mean, he's released photos of that. And
it's just awkward because it's like, I know a lot of like entry level, like very surface level fans of like the MCU is going to be like, oh, it's copying them, and they're not even going to give it a chance.
I mean, who cares about?
I'm
just
saying, like,
if you're an MCU fan and you don't want to watch, no, if you're an MCU fan and you don't want to watch Zack Snyder stuff, well, then don't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, there are fans.
Hey,
I'm the same way. I don't flock to Marvel stuff because I feel like I've seen the same thing. So people love Marvel. I know a lot of people love Marvel, and they love that stuff. So that's good on them. But to then be like to demand that those movies not be made just because I don't like them seems to be wrong. And so Marvel fans that are like, Zack Snyder should never direct a movie again and never be like, why do you care? You don't like the movies. So let him do what he wants for the people that like it, and you don't have to watch them. It's all good.
I will actually say, Jonah, I used to be, because he never watched Marvel movies and I always hate on them. And I'm like, dude, why?
It's true.
You haven't even watched them. But I will say that's a better approach than just watching a movie in order to hate it.
Right.
It's like, what's the 100%. Point of that? Like, if I know I'm not going to like this movie, why am I going to watch it just so I can be like, I just confirmed what I already knew?
Because then you come at the movie with a really negative like outlook, and you're like, I'm ready to rip this movie apart. And that's what I think a lot of people do probably with the Snyder Cut and stuff like that. But the same goes for Marvel. But like,
yeah, exactly.
What a terrible way. When I go and watch a Marvel movie, when I watch any movie, I'm like zero expectation. And it's so much more enjoyable because I'm not trying to hate on it. And then, like, I was watching WandaVision, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to try it out, see what it's like. And I was like, oh, it's all right. It was okay. But if I would have went in, like, really negative, then I'm just wasting time at that point, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm wasting 30 minutes, and an hour.
I think that's, like, even for me, like, I've thought about, should I watch WandaVision? Or, like, the other night, we were trying to figure out if I should, what I wanted to watch. And I was like, oh, it was Falcon and Winter Soldier. But then I was like, I just feel like I'd be like, oh, that's dumb. So I was like, I don't need to watch it right now. Like, maybe if we're doing like we want to review that and you guys watch it and you guys, hey, you should watch it and see what you want, maybe I'll do that. But if I'm just like scrolling through and like, I put on the Snyder Cut because I like it. Like, I'll find scenes that I liked in the Snyder Cut or Man of Steel. Like, I'll find myself going back and watching those or BVS and being like, oh, I want to watch that scene again. So, I mean, I'd rather watch something that I like instead of being like, well, I'm going to watch this so that I can argue with somebody about how it's.
And we all know you don't need to watch anything.
I don't need to watch anything to argue. I can
off the cuff.
Well, and that's kind of it's funny because I mean that's a big reason why we're doing this is because like for the last how long, like year or so, you've been talking nonstop about this movie. I feel
more
like
than that. I feel, but
maybe 2 years. Yeah, actually, Sensei announced
like
it,
an
right?
eternity. To be honest,
I was gonna say like it's good because like I feel bad for our family because they have to hear about it every time we hang out
and it's not going to end, guys, because now we would need to restore the Snyderverse. Oh, there's more.
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
I'm all for it. I will
never get tired of it.
Yeah, as long as they don't make a movie that's 4 hours and.
See,
reduce the amount of slow-mo that's used by about maybe 30%. I'd be more happy with it.
Man, that's one of the complaints that some other people that I know have really just like.
I've heard that complaint a lot.
Jumped in. That there's too much slow-mo,
and that's like a preference thing, right?
Sure.
Like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay. So when we watch,
let's talk because we haven't really discussed.
We got to talk about
the spoilers of it.
Right,
We've just been talking about like.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say
future plans.
When we talk about Rogue One, right? You always bring up this one thing where you're like, every death that happens, there's an explosion.
I think that's different than slow mo.
Close up of the face.
Slow motion too.
Are any of the explosions in slow mo?
I don't think so.
But you say
they're good. Then
it's a little weird, and it bugged you because it was the same strategy, same shot every time, right? It's not to the same degree, but. There were moments when I was watching the movie that it kind of like took me out of the movie. Does that make sense? Like where I was like
what moment?
Every slow-mo movie, like every slow-mo moment. Like I don't know this because I've only watched it once, dare I say.
Shame on you.
But how many times have you streamed it?
What is that?
I'm streaming it right now.
It's on all of our phones.
I thought I was going to put it on my PlayStation.
But no, like it felt like every combat scene there was slow motion, and it took a little too long. It wasn't bad. I love slow motion, but it's just like every combat situation, like fighting scene, slow mo. I was like, by the 5th, 6th time, I was like, here we go again. And it wasn't terrible, but it was just something that takes me out of it a little bit. That's it.
That's fine.
Right.
Well, I guess you can go. I've talked a lot.
Yeah,
go
ahead,
ahead,
definitely. About to
I mean, I personally, give me all the slow mo. I like slow mo. I like being able to. I like being able to.
Slow-mo.
I like being able to.
He's watching 10-hour movies.
I put every YouTube video on like really slow.
0.25.
No, I'm a big fan of slow mo. So, and these there are characters in this movie specifically that benefit from seeing
100%.
Like I think the Flash is a unique character where it's cool to see him in real time speed, but it's also cool to see him running on a wall and poking Wonder Woman's sword back in her hand. Like that. That's cool to be able to see that stuff.
Cool.
But
and I'm 100% behind you on that. Yeah. Let's cut it like 5 seconds each scene, and then also
if that's what you want, there's a cut that came out in 2017 that's a lot shorter.
No, I'll never watch that again.
But it's like it's also cool to see him zoom in. Like when you see him running around the what was it, like a nuclear plant?
Yeah.
That was sick. Also kind of unrealistic that guy would actually hit him, but whatever.
That was like a 1 in a million shot.
It took like a bunch of shots though.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's like a henchman. No one even knew who he was.
Yeah.
He didn't have a name.
With the slow motion, because I've heard that a lot. Someone calculated out, because I kept hearing like half the movies in slow motion. I was like, there's no way 2 hours of the movies in slow motion.
No, of course.
And so it's like someone calculated out to like 10% of the movie is slow motion, but that includes like any Flash scene or any time it's slow motion. So for me, the Flash stuff, there's only a few ways you can show him being fast. Either it's just a blur or you have to do slow motion. And I think for the most part, I thought it worked. And I think because Zack Snyder was releasing this as his cut, then he let things go longer than if he were putting it in a movie theater and he needed to cut. So when you're saying it's gone a little 5 seconds over, I think because he was like, hey, this is my whole cut. No one's telling me to cut anything. I'm just going to keep it in there. Does that make sense?
No, you're right.
So I think
A
that
little self-indulgent.
he gets to do whatever he wants. That's true.
well, I just think, and like for someone like me, it's like, yeah, give me everything. Like he just released a deleted scene that I'm like, put that back in the movie. What are you doing? A deleted scene? Come on,
patch it. You can patch it.
So for me, it's kind of like, but I can see what you're saying, and I know a lot of people had problems with that. But for me, I'm on what Mick's saying is, I like the slow motion, and it's part of Zack Snyder's visual as a director. He uses slow motion.
That's the thing too. The fact that his movies are some of like the prettiest movies that I've seen. Like, again, this is my, I guess, kind of bias towards Marvel movies. They don't look like they were like ripped out of a comic. If you like take any screenshot from Man of Steel, BVS, even of the Aquaman movie, especially, they look like they're from the comics.
Yes.
And that's something that I think is really cool about these DC movies that I don't get with the Marvel movies.
That's actually a really good point, because when I look at Marvel movies, and this doesn't apply to every movie, obviously, but some more than others, it feels like the character or the hero doesn't actually belong in the world that they're at. Does that make sense? Like they're almost foreign. But in this movie, really natural. The lighting was so good. Every hero looked like they belonged there. Like my favorite scene by far was when Superman got resurrected. Sorry, rezzed. All you gamers out there. He got rezzed. And that was just so iconic, that scene. It was so beautiful. My favorite slow motion is obviously that part where he's like, what? And like looks over at him.
The side eye thing.
That's like, that. I love moments like that. They give me goosebumps. And that was a moment that gave me goosebumps, right? And so, I will agree with you on that for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think, not to go into the Marvel Marvel list, but there's actually
it's our comparison, right?
There's actually an element where if you watch Marvel movies, the settings are weird. Like even in
some of them.
Well, they use a lot of gray. Like they're
very brown.
It's
gray movies.
Yes, like even in I can't think of the name now, but is it Civil War where they're fighting in the airport?
Right.
It's like they make them fight places where it's like really on a tarmac. Like it's just great, and a lot of the reasons are for that is because they have somebody they get directors, and then they've already blocked out the action scenes. They have other people that are already doing the action scenes. So they tell the directors, hey, this scene is we already have it mapped out. So it's done like formulaic. And there's several directors that have talked about this, is that they already have those scenes previs and all done. And so they kind of all have a same style and look to it. So it ends up looking very similar movie to movie.
The best way to kind of like unify each shot is by making it as safe as possible, like as neutral.
Right.
And taking less risk and like color grading really weird and like having different color schemes. So that does make sense.
Well, and that's why for me, parts. I think one of the prettiest visually movies of Marvel is Black Panther. Like they do stuff with colors.
Beautiful.
That I don't think other movies have done. Like I say, they have that gray and brown palette in other movies. But Doctor Strange kind of had a similar thing.
I would say Guardians is also.
Yeah.
Like
and so.
Oh, yeah.
So,
crazy.
But what you're saying, I agree with, is I feel like Zack Snyder they're just shots that. I mean, I have a ton of shots on my phone that I just put as backgrounds. No, because they're just beautiful. Yeah. Like they're just the way.
I like that shot.
He has a look. I
love that shot.
And a vision, and how he shoots things and directs things that is just, to me, is just beautiful. Like a perfect comparison. Comparison is from Justice League, the scene with Martha and Lois, compared to what Zack Snyder did. It's just absolutely...
Those worlds different.
Yeah. The setting of it, the dialogue of it, the way it's shot. In Justice League, it's kind of just shot straight on. The colors are super bright. It's weird.
You're in an office space.
Right.
Well, and I don't want this to sound like this worship session of like how amazing, but like...
No,
that's what it is.
Realistically, I'm trying to be more like even keeled, right? Like, realistically... That scene was so different. I remember even thinking, I don't even know if I've said it out loud. I might have said it to Bree right next to me.
First time right here, out loud. Let's go.
I'm about to say it, guys. But it was like, I was so surprised at how different it was. It was so different that I was like, how could you make that change? Because it was such a great character building time. Mm. And then they replaced it with some gaggy kind of like joke thing. Yeah. It's like, what? Yeah. And it made it so awkward. That thirsty line was so awkward.
The whole scene is awkward. The thirsty line, the aliens probing, like, if you probe my husband, I'm gonna beep, beep. Like, it was like, what is that? The guy coming in and saying, hey, Lois, who's your source on this? You know, like, and her being like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's completely weird. And then you compare that to what Zack Snyder did. And even me being a nerd of these movies, like, you can go back and watch his movies, and he's even in how he does the set design. Like, he puts pictures in the background, or he puts in BVS, there's like statues of horses placed in the background of scenes, and they symbolize like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Like, it's like there's stuff that he just, everything he does, he thinks about and what he's doing and when he's filming. And so to just see that scene and seeing
Marvel does that. Did you see how many times who was it? Iron Man did stuff with his left hand? What was that thing? Oh yeah,
and that came out to nothing.
He snapped, bro. He snapped.
Oh,
with his left hand.
Was it his left hand?
Yes, dude.
I thought it was his right.
I don't know.
But I think it's his right because Thanos
be the left hand,
because Thanos' glove was the left hand, and then Tony did it with his right. It was the opposite.
Okay.
Well, that was debunked.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Right here.
They also do it too. You know, they made little foreshadowing clues.
And again, in
writing techniques.
In defense of that, I will admit I just love Zack Snyder's movies more. So obviously, I'm going to watch them over and be like analyze everything. So
yeah, but I think you're right that the settings are just more interesting in Zack Snyder movies. It's like the house at in Smallville. Like, it has character, whereas you go to the scene that Joss Whedon shot, and it's white, everything, office space, no character whatsoever.
Or even the opening with Batman on the rooftop. Like, it just feels like a set. It doesn't feel like an actual, like, you're
that felt like such a world. Cartoon.
Right, it does. It feels like, a bank robber, like, traditional, like,
a big stack of loot.
A big stack of loot, yeah.
And I did watch a shot-by-shot comparison of that scene, like that whole run. it did seem like that. It cut everything, first of all.
Yeah.
And they changed things that looked dope into things that looked super cheesy and corny.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah. So
It was crazy.
So I just think and also the cinematography. I mean, having Fabian Wagner do, which is the guy from Game of Thrones, to do the cinematography in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, it just looked awesome. And he was saying they used 10% of his stuff in Justice League. So it's like, why?
That's crazy.
That's so criminal. Because, I mean, it's obvious what is his shots and what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other complaints you have? Let's keep going. I mean, Josh, go ahead.
Can you guess what my complaint is? There's a couple minor nitpicks
Not
that
enough
that I
slow-mo.
didn't like.
I think you didn't like the Wonder Woman music choice.
I was actually fine with that, but it is music related. I didn't like Aquaman's groupies.
Okay, that made me cringe a little bit.
I didn't like that.
To be honest,
That's
it
a
made me
little
like,
long. But you can actually go in and look up what they're actually singing, and it relates to Aquaman.
doesn't change the effect that it has on the.
That's the thing, though. Like, if they give me subtitles, maybe, and like a little
100%.
bouncing ball that I can sing along
Yeah,
with,
that
I'm
was
in
like
with
sing
it.
along.
That was the one thing that I thought was too long.
Yeah.
I think,
I was like,
I think that probably could have just been cut altogether.
Yeah, or change. Just
or
shot
change,
differently.
yeah.
Don't do the weirdo song, but like.
I mean,
Or like sniff the sweater a little much.
Yeah,
That's one of my complaints.
I always thought about what happened after his clothes he'd throw off. Like, who got him?
People
Was he
just pick 'em
littering? They picked it up. Yep, they could probably have a shrine.
Apparently, that's like an old song that's written, and it's like people have posted the lyrics of it, and it relates to the man who
right, like
a
talks
king.
about
So
from like a man from the sea.
provides.
yeah, man from the sea. So it's kind of like, I think there's. Yeah, but I agree that part was something I was like, I could have done without.
Yeah. And then the other one, also music related, also related to Aquaman. I wasn't feeling the song when he's going into the sea when he's going back.
See, okay, so that's one of the changes that they made. One of the many changes they made from Justice League to this movie. So in Justice League, the 2017 version, it was like I think a white stripe song.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it completely changes the tone of that scene. In that version, it seemed like he didn't care about anything. He was like the bad boy motorcycle dude. And
He still kind of is, but less, way less.
right. But in that scene specifically, in the Snyder version, it seemed more like he was struggling with taking up this mantle of being the Aquaman, the king of the oceans. Like it just changed it so much where I preferred the Snyder version, even though I did like that other version too. Because when we first watched the movie, when that scene came up, I was kind of disappointed that it changed. But the more I have watched it and listened to it, I think it makes more sense for his character, and it makes me, I think, appreciate that scene more.
Yeah. For me, I think it was just a little too on the nose. It had this a song about a king, and he doesn't want his crown. He doesn't, and it's really slow.
Yeah.
And
I
Zack Snyder has a habit of like a lot of the songs in the movie that are, I'm guessing Zack Snyder selected songs are like pretty like, okay, this is.
Well, I think it's his style as far as, I agree with you too. That to me it wasn't something I was like, oh, I don't like this, but it was like, that's an interesting choice. When I go, he started like as a music video director, like that's how he started. So I think when he does certain things in every one of his movies, there's the music video part of his movies. And so I think he does something that I, as someone who's a musician, that I like. That I like.
I don't know if you know this, but I write songs.
He does think in musically, like what lyrics are saying and what the song like means. So I think I like analyzing those aspects of whether I like the song or not. It's like, well, he didn't just throw Pitbull in there like in Aquaman.
I would have preferred it, to be honest.
But I think there's that element where he puts in stuff because there's a reason for it, and so that's what I enjoy. It's like the artist side of him, whether I like that song or not, I'm like, he's doing that. It's not just a throwaway song. Like, oh, I like that song. It's like the lyrics mean something. There's a reason for it. and so that's why I kind of like listening to that song and be like, why did he pick that song? Whether it fits, like you said, that's up to each person's interpretation. Because it wasn't my favorite aspect either. I was like, that's an interesting pick, especially once you compare it to what they had before. It just makes it, I'm like, that's a complete different feel. But just the songs?
That's really all my nitpicks. There wasn't really anything else in the movie that I was like, man, I didn't like that part. Actually, another thing, there are terrible drivers in this movie.
Drivers?
Oh, the guy with the
terrible drivers.
the hamburger.
The hamburger.
Also, who hasn't done
The
that?
guy with
We've
the
all been
hamburger
there.
kind of, I was like, okay. And then at the end, like after all that happens, he kind of gives like a weird look, like hopefully nobody saw that. I was like, okay, I could have done without that. Also, Iris is a terrible driver because she's just like rolling
Hey,
through.
when you see
So two bad drivers.
That is true. That was kind of a...
Third bad driver, Cyborg's mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
100%.
I know your son's crying, but keep your head on a swivel.
Maybe they were going through the green light though.
Maybe that's a good point. I don't really have a nitpick about that.
And
just that one scene that gets
and maybe
kind of
Iris was driving that other car, or the other. Maybe it's not there's three
the
bad
same
drivers,
guy.
but it's two.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think movie to movie, all the characters are improved. The only one that I don't think changed much that I wasn't like, oh, that's markedly better is Wonder Woman. Like from the Justice League. I mean, there's obviously scenes where it's like, but overall, I don't think she did much more that I was like, oh, okay, like I like you a whole lot more in this version of the movie. I don't think the backstory, like there wasn't much improvement on her backstory either. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's fine. But everyone else, I enjoyed a whole lot more.
Oh, man, yeah.
I think her biggest improvement was her action is just better.
Right. But
Like
not
just the Snyder aesthetic of Wonder Woman is more like he said himself, she's the god killer. Like he uses her she kills gods. She's not just like, whatever. She's like the most she's the most ruthless of all of them. So that to me is like, I think that's an improvement.
Yeah, but I don't think it made her as far as backstory, emotional character development. I don't think there was anything markedly that I was like, that's
the one thing I do think that is better. That kind of did change her a little bit is they threw more Steve Trevor stuff in Justice League to be like, oh, people loved Steve Trevor, so like she was like when Bruce Wayne brings up, is that what Steve Trevor taught you, and she like punches him and stuff, like
but
there's kind of
that's
the more
of
of that.
That's more of a minus on Batman, in my opinion. Like on Batman.
Well, I think on both of them, but I think like in this one, she mentions him like, oh, I knew a guy once.
Yeah.
He would have loved to fly this, but
I don't know if you know his name.
But to me, is like
Trevor?
I just think she's
a little forced.
That
I'm gonna say it because she was so forthcoming, and she didn't talk about too much. But when she did talk, she was talking about that.
Oh, you mean in Justice League or in?
No, in this one as well.
She already mentioned it
like
once.
when she talked with
talked to Cyborg too.
First, like the one thing, and I think it's justified, but it just was like, I wish I had more from her. Obviously, there's so many characters, but like, it wasn't bad. That's just something I noticed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
And but this is,
By the way, I lost my love. Yes.
This movie did come, both movies were supposed to come out just months after Wonder Woman. So I think there was
fair enough.
a little bit of that. Like
they wanted to connect it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that Bruce Wayne versus Wonder Woman quarrel in, I guess it's not the Batcave. Where are they?
They're in the hangar.
Just a hangar.
But they cut stuff in Justice League to make it seem like they're in the Batcave when they're actually in the hangar.
Right.
And they just kind of like think, oh, people aren't going to notice, but they're like, there's windows and lights coming
big old
through.
Batcave.
Like it's really
I bet
that.
a lot of people didn't though.
No,
I bet
but
that was something
it's just kind of ridiculous if you think about it. But the other thing, if I like the one thing I really liked, if you're comparing the two movies, is in the whole discussion of them trying to bring Superman back, I think is just so much better in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like Cyborg's telling them, what the mother boxes do, and they all are coming to the conclusion of, well, we can use this on on Superman, and it actually seems like them like talking out the science of it and stuff. And flashes.
It makes sense.
It makes sense as opposed to the other one. It's just like Bruce is like, oh well, we can bring back Superman, and then Flash is like, well, Pet Cemetery, and like, what if he's, and like, it's just really like,
I don't know about this, but we're doing it anyway.
Right.
Like,
and the other one, they're kind of like, we need help, and this could. So I just think those scenes are just so much better.
Not to mention, going back to music choices, the Zack Snyder version, they brought back that Man of Steel theme, which
super.
That's how you build up a series of movies, is you keep the music going through, especially when it's like a leitmotif for a character. Putting that in that scene completely changed how that felt. It was like a hopeful build up to realizing that they could bring Superman back. And the 2017 version, I can't even remember what the music was because it was just so unforgettable. But then when you see it in Snyder's version, that's such a memorable scene because of that. I mean, largely because of that music.
Well, and even that shot, they have like the camera's going around like the whole team, and they actually have like two cameras. So like you're getting there's a behind the scenes thing where they're actually talking about how they filmed it, and they like have two cameras going, but so that you can't see the other camera because it's
barely off.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that way it's picking up the reactions as someone's talking. It's picking up the reactions. It's just. That shot is just beautiful. Like,
it was really good
those
writing
kind of things.
too.
Right. And Chris Terrio's writing
and everything of the going back in time.
Right.
That whole thing was awesome.
And those really are great. That's the great thing too. Chris Terrio, who wrote Batman v Superman, you don't have Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon's rewrites of just dialogue. You're like, this is terrible. You have Terrio's writing from BVS, which I think is one of the best written comic book movies, just because like even if I know people don't like Lex Luthor, but the way he talks in Batman v Superman is like philosophy, and he's mixing all this other stuff and religion and stuff. It's just so well done, and he carries that dialogue into Zack Snyder's Justice League. I just think is way better than anything they came up with in the rewrites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
And, if all the things didn't happen with Zack Snyder and his family and stuff like that, obviously, he would have had to cut this movie down, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So
they had a 2-hour mandate.
How would that look? Yeah. Okay, so down to 2. What would that movie look like realistically?
No slow motion.
Everything is actually sped
cut
up.
that out. Yeah.
It's still a 4-hour movie.
I think it would be a similar thing. It'd be maybe a 2.5-hour movie, and then he would release the extended edition that would be 3 hours or 3.5. Like it wouldn't be the full 4. Obviously the Joker stuff wouldn't be in there,
right?
So I just think it would be
like
shorter,
longer scenes, like the
I think
Amazonian, like the chase,
the
scene
fighting
where they're trying to get the mother box away. That's cut in half or something like that.
Yeah. But I just think the stuff that is essential to it, like storytelling, would have been in there more.
But it wouldn't have been as awesome.
It wouldn't have been. No, honestly. It wouldn't have been.
That's
why to me the 4 hours is like it's great. And the black and white version, I know this is weird to you guys, but watch the black and white version. It is, I think it's better than the colored version.
You know what?
It just looks incredible.
Okay, so one of my last thing that I didn't like about the movie was, and I'm surprised no one talks about this or I don't hear about it. Maybe it's just me then. But the CGI and some of the lighting, I wasn't a big fan of it. And obviously they're trying to finish this up.
I think it was Josh's TV though.
Dude,
we watched it together.
I promise I apologize. For whatever reason,
when we watched it, it had this red.
So the issue is it was. I know.
I'm scared.
Because they're liars.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it.
It was terrible.
I thought there was something wrong with the frame rate, but apparently it was some weird red color thing.
So I tested this out on Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay.
So I watched it on the HBO app, and I was like, it's in 4K, but the blacks aren't quite as black.
Did you down to 1080?
No, so it was still the same. And then when I cast it on my phone, it was Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos on the TV.
So is it because it was on the PS4?
I think that's what it was. But even when I cast it from my phone later, it didn't get up to Dolby Vision, which I don't know why. Because I mean, it was better later on. but
WB
still,
trying
it was. Yeah.
Why would they do that?
They hacked into my phone specifically. But I will say, I mean, it probably is a little better once you rewatch.
But yeah, there was some there was some kind of wonky effects that I think were more related to the fact that it was like the last stuff that he was working on, trying to put out
like
from,
he was working
from
for
home.
Free.
Yeah, for free.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm not making a big deal.
No,
of it.
but I'm just saying, like, he's doing other movie. He's finishing a movie for Netflix.
Yeah.
And he's doing this basically out of love for his daughter and the fans. Like, so there's, I think,
Oh, you're making me feel bad now.
Yeah, man.
I know this
for his dog.
No, but I know
Any complaint you have? Baratem.
No, but I noticed like there
Use
was
this platform to publicly
At
apologize
the
right
end
now.
of the movie, I was like, man, why are they playing this song? And then I figured out why. I was like, I feel like I feel so bad, dude. But no, like if you
I was
watch
very
the
offended
last,
when you guys were like, "What the heck?" And I was
what
like,
is
"Oh,
this?
it's a."
I mean, I
I
like the
didn't
song.
know.
I didn't like the rendition.
Yeah, I
no,
agree.
that's true. Yeah, but if you watch,
But she's
like,
singing
the
at
last
her
scene,
funeral, so
Did you sing it like that?
yep,
Yeah,
I think so.
Can we stop? Like,
Anyways,
but like there were just some CGI bits. I was like, oh, whoa.
no, I'll give you one
but I'm
exactly.
sure it was
The one I
rushed
think,
and low.
the one where the Amazons are all coming on the horse and they're shooting their arrows.
Yes.
They're doing
super
because
weird.
they're standing up straight. They're not really on horses.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is like, oh, they're Amazons. They're like have
Right.
And so that to me was a little weird, but it was
Yeah.
just not as much the CGI, but more of like they kind of had a little bit of the elf movement in Lord of the Rings where they're like
up straight,
and they're just like, they're so fast but to me, when you're comparing it to what people actually look like, it looks weird. That was one that I noticed. I was like, I don't like how that looks.
One I thought looked pretty weird was, I think it's in the beginning of the movie when it's showing Superman died, his voice is, spreading throughout the world. And then it shows Lex Luthor in the Kryptonian ship.
Right.
He looks like a 2D cutout.
That was my TV. I'm sorry.
It probably was actually.
It's
not, 'cause-
it does look a little funky.
It does, yeah.
No, there's a lot of instances like that.
Yeah.
When you look
Well,
at
what I
it,
would say
the
is
lighting's messed up. Like,
if you
it's
watch it in
different
black
sources.
and white,
That's what I was gonna say.
it
So
looks
that's what
really good.
I
think
like
that's-
color, though.
I think that solves a lot of problems.
I'm one of those younger guys
Jonas,
that likes
right
color.
now, just go ahead and
the
look out the door.
If you watch, I think you'll be surprised
think
how
so?
good it looks in black and white. Because
I think I'll like it better.
I
It
started
does look- I
watching.
think
I
I
was
will,
like, you know
actually.
what? I started watching it when they
Then
released
everybody has the black suit.
Even the
That's what
black
it should have been
suit,
called, the black
even the
suit, dude.
black suit looks like it's
true.
it's good. The shot of him when he's risen, and he like does,
I freaking love
and he
that
does like behind him, and it's the world, and he's like this. That shot is beautiful in color. It is incredible in black and white. It's the weirdest thing. Like there was these shots in there that are done in black and white that I'm just like, this looks better than like you can
Life itself.
No, I'm saying like I could take screenshots or print those off and put them on my wall in black and white and be like, these
We'd
look
have to
beautiful.
get a good printer, but
Yeah.
Or even
4K
when he's going over the mountains at the beginning and the snow's going through and watch it in black and white. You'll be like, wow, this is, you might not
I'll
like
have
it
to
as
give it a
much,
shot.
but
Yeah, in photography, like if you're doing black and white photos, it's probably making up for the fact that it's like trash, like photography, like composition.
Yeah.
So
Way
that's probably why it looks better. No, I'm just kidding.
well, and the other thing is he actually worked on it. Like it's not just like, oh, put it in black and white, and then like they actually worked on it to make it look good in black and white. Like it's done. That's why it didn't drop the same time, because he was working on tuning it up to make like they're actually making the film look that way. So it's
He did
like
a lot of like editing with the black and white, right?
well that's how he.
It's a good way to know.
Well, that's how
if
he said
art's
that
good,
he-
just in general.
Yeah.
He said that's how he knows the movie, because he had that cut on his phone in black and white. So he's like, to him, it's his favorite version of it, because he's like, I worked so long. Like he would drop stuff on his Vero account from like screenshots from the cut on his phone. So he's like, I've always known it as black and white. So seeing it in black and white is kind of like, I don't know. It's for us Snyder nerds. It's kind of like You gotta, the Justice's Gray version is beautiful.
It's the real version. But that is a good point because I make logos. Okay, no, I'm just
Graphic designer, everybody.
When I am looking at logos and like how they look,
Right.
I don't ever touch color until I know that it looks good in black and white. I'm sure that carries on to composition for like cinematography as well. So that's awesome. I need to watch it. I think I'll watch it again based on your recommendation.
Watch it in black and white. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure the stream's good too. Sorry, guys.
Okay, but you can say a million things about what's so good about it, of the movie itself. So what are your critiques? Ultimate fan.
Like some of the things that
Dialogue.
Josh mentioned, I agree.
Music stuff?
Yeah, I liked the music for the most part. I liked the Wonder Woman. He kind of used like a female, like that, and I thought it was used a little too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that to me was not something that I'm like, oh, there we go again. But it was just because like, I wonder if I understand what he was doing.
The fact that it's such a unique leitmotif that it sticks out that much more.
And if you do it too much, it'll get annoying. At
Right.
some point.
And it was kind of in moments where she was doing something, like she was like when he cuts her head off, or anytime she was standing there, it was kind of came in. So I think, and I've heard a lot of people complain about that. And so to me, it didn't pull me out of the movie, but I was like, I could have done without maybe one or two of those.
Yeah.
So that,
The aspect ratio bug you at all?
no,
It didn't bug me at all.
to me, I like it better.
Well, it's one of those
You
things
want everything in. What is it?
No, but it's something that doesn't bother me,
4:3,
but I
right?
just feel like,
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, 4:3.
if you're watching it on a big screen, and here's the thing, if you guys watch it on an iPad, it looks amazing on an iPad because there's no bars. It like fits perfectly.
Oh, sweet.
So like, I'm just saying, if you guys
Just
ever
how we
wanna,
intended to watch it.
no, but I'm just saying, like, you watch it on
They have
iPad,
good monitors.
there's no bars on anything.
It doesn't actually cut off the sides.
No.
right?
Right.
It's
I
should
actually
watch
like
it on our CRT.
it's actually like
Actually
a zoomed
more- you
out
get
vision,
more.
and you can see top and
Right.
bottom more.
It's just done. They just released, which I need to get, 4K Batman v Superman. It's sold out in the first 24 hours, but he
Like
did
physical copies.
Well, they only had
the
2
4K.
available, so
Wow.
But he remastered it. He remastered it, and it's also done in IMAX aspect ratio. So it's the same. So
Well, obviously, I mean,
I need to get that because he has there's videos showing like how much more you get to see, and it's a little thing. It's like just the tops.
I mean, I get to see his feet now. Sweet.
No, it's just
That guy
What is this, a Tarantino movie?
I could only
get
see
to
his
see-
knees. Now I can see down to his.
well, you get to see like there's things of Wonder Woman's head's cut off right here, and then in the other one you see the whole thing
can
where you
see
see
that whole
Batman,
forehead?
and like
Shoot.
I just think if
you
you
get
see
20% more image.
right?
Wow.
I think it's good.
I
See
get
more.
that.
Wow.
I think,
No, that's good.
and it didn't bother me either. But I'm just so used
Used
to
to.
that widescreen top
Well, I just
bar,
feel
bottom
like-
bar.
I got over it in like 5
Well, I even think
minutes.
if you're watching
Yeah,
on a
I
TV,
didn't
even notice it after.
Yeah,
if you're
you-
watching on a TV and the lights are off, like the black kind of fades into the TV on the side, so it's kind of like to me
It's just a different shade.
it doesn't become
Well, I
that.
think what I say it doesn't bother me, but it did a little
does.
bit. I think what I would have preferred is if they just did what Nolan does in a lot of his movies, how his IMAX shots.
I don't like
you
that.
just don't have any bars, so it just fills up the screen. And again, it's not exactly as
You're
much,
cropping the top
but
and the bottom.
it just fills up
zooming
the
in.
whole
the
screen.
thing I don't like about that is that I notice when it switches.
No, I'm saying the whole movie
Oh,
because I hate
because
that's one thing I hate
in the
about
Dark Knight.
the,
Where
the
like
Dark
it-
Knight,
it
Dark
switches
Knight
there,
Rises,
and then it's like, and then it switches. And then when it ever goes to the IMAX channel, it's like, boop, all
it's
the way in.
in it's in Interstellar, it's in Tenet. I think it's in all of his movies after the Dark Knight, which is it gets frustrating, but
yeah, it didn't bother me.
yeah.
Joker.
I'm trying to think. There's nothing else. The one thing that I will say is I thought I would get more emotional, and I didn't.
Do you think that's partly because you already saw?
Well, 'cause I
you
knew a
already
lot
know
was
the
gonna
story
happen,
and all
yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
But I thought, I just thought, just based on, because Man of Steel has some of like my favorite moments of stuff, and I feel like the stuff with Clark back on the farm, I feel like I was wanting something a little more, and part of it is because I've already seen a lot of those scenes they kept in Justice League. So I think the one they cut that I absolutely love is when he's remembering who he is and he's at the window and he says, "She loved it here," right? Talking about his mom. And then he kind of smiles and he says, "I loved it here." And it switches the camera and it zooms out from that window and it keeps zooming out. And there's the tree, the swing.
Right.
And that's the same one where he was like sitting on in Man of Steel when he saves all the kids. And then that's leading up to the conversation he has with his dad, Kevin Costner, where he talks, where they have
not John Kent,
where they
but
have
Kevin Costner,
where they have the awesome line where he's like, "Can I just keep pretending that I'm your son?" He's
right.
like, "You
he
are my son."
reveals that he's
like that moment to me, just that subtle shot of that swing set, and then him being like, "I loved it here," and smiling. That to me, and that's the same shot where, at the end of Man of Steel, where he's like. Where Martha says he saw it, where he's like, "I wish he was here to see it." She's like, he saw it, and he's playing on the farm, and his dad sees him, do the Superman pose. So that scene to me was like one of my favorite scenes that a lot of people would just be like, that was a nothing scene. But to me, just the way it's filmed and shot subtly with that swing set, that tree, with those scenes in my mind of like, that's Man of Steel. To me, those are like, so I was wanting a little more of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I was left wanting more, but that might be just me being like, give me more of it.
Well, actually, I think it's a product of it being a multi-hero, multi-main character movie. You don't have enough time to get this, like, you have to care about it. Because it was like this.
Give me the 6-hour cut, baby. Come on. Let's go,
honestly,
Zach.
That's what it would take, I think. Because you need more, like, passion. Like, you have to have more, like, stakes. I mean, obviously, what's more stakes in the world? But, like, you can't identify to that, right? Like when you had, maybe if it was like Superman's mom was at risk or something, like you're like, oh, I love Superman's mom. Like, and there's something more relatable on a personal level, a more real level. Maybe that would be more heart wrenching and like a little bit more, tug at your heartstrings, but like, it's like grand epic, like stage. So it's kind of hard to get you. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I had that feeling about any of the other like Marvel big movies. I don't think so. Not really. No, like huge heartstring. Oh my gosh,
you didn't cry when Tony Stark died?
Nope.
Spoiler alert. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I'm sure there are some people though, because you have
people invested.
You have how many movies built up exactly,
whatever it is.
So I think that it has they have an unfair like disadvantage in that situation, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for me, other than that, I thought there wasn't anything that I was like, oh, that was really bad, or anything that I didn't really like. There's some characters that I wish there was more of, but again, it's like I wanted more Commissioner Gordon. I thought we would get more of that.
Yeah.
And then this is weird. Most people aren't going to complain about this, but Perry White. I love Perry White in Man of Steel, and even the stuff he has in BVS, where he's like funny and clever lines. I was like, man, I kind of I wanted a little bit of that. And the other thing that I would have wanted a little more of is that I know people don't, because a lot of people complained about BVS being political and having all that. Like, I wish there was a little bit more of that. Like, what's going on in the world now that Superman comes back? Because that was a big thing. And I know this is about the Justice League, but it would have been, to me, that was intriguing to me in BVS. So just having like, how's the world reacting to Superman being back, or to these heroes, or what's the world like without Superman? There was no real talking about.
Right. We only really saw it from
Batman's
Bruce and Lois's point of view of how they felt.
Right. Not about what the world thinks. And I thought you could have done like 10 minutes interspersed in the movie on that would give you a feeling for like, what's the world at now?
Sure.
Now that Superman's dead, and what are the ramifications of that?
And how long was it supposed to be? Like between when he died and when they arrested him?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a time.
We don't know. Okay.
I don't think they say what like a.
Okay.
No, I think
maybe like
some months have passed, because Suicide Squad was supposed to take place shortly after.
Oh, okay.
And that was apparently that was supposed to introduce Steppenwolf getting to Earth before they kind of destroyed that narrative. So WB making great decisions as always.
Dude, Steppenwolf looks so sick.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, let's talk about Steppenwolf for a little bit. So his character design
way better,
completely changed from the theatrical version. I think we all can agree that it was a better look by far.
Yeah, way better.
Much more menacing villain, not just looks, but you understood his reasoning for what he was doing. And
absolutely.
In the theatrical version, it was just he's a conqueror of worlds and said mother. A lot. Mother's calling.
You were born of her.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how, but for some, I actually have no idea why I liked it so much better. It was obviously looked way better just in general. Like he just looked bad A, but man, maybe it's just more time for developing his character and the backstory and stuff with Darkseid.
I think just his armor was way cooler, and it was like not your typical like.
What's up with the armor?
Well, no, I just think if you look like he's more menacing than a guy that's like gray face, like humanoid. Like he's more menacing. His armor was cool to look at. It kind of like moved with him, so it was like an alien armor kind of thing.
It was something that I hadn't really seen before,
right,
in a movie.
And
I thought I wasn't gonna like that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I thought it was gonna look really cheesy, but it actually looked really good.
I thought he was one of the coolest thing, like CGI wise. Like they did a really good job making him look, because even how it reflects light and it kind of has a purplish look to it and stuff, I thought was really cool. But I think the biggest thing is him. You kind of feel a little bad for him when he's like talking to this.
I just want to come home.
When he's talking to the son, he's like, "Can I come home?" And he's like, "You still have 50,000," and his face is like, like 50,000. Like that to me, that I loved it. Or even how he even says, "Desaad, I call to thee." You're just like, "Oh, dude, you're just like a little guy trying to get back home, man." Yeah. But I just think
half his debt.
Just that little thing makes you. Gives you a different perspective, because he's still menacing and you're like, he's a bad guy, but there's that. And then part of me felt a little bad when he gets killed and he gets thrown through, and then you see Darkseid. I mean, Steppenwolf is huge, but then Darkseid steps on his head and you realize like how small Steppenwolf is compared to Darkseid, and he just crushes his. That to me was like one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time, where it's just like you're looking, because you see just a cool way to show, like, you thought Steppenwolf was bad. Darkseid is
it's a good
the
way
real
to,
deal.
It's a good way to give like weight to like him. Exactly.
Yeah, like, well, who's coming?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love Steppenwolf. I thought he was way better than what they gave us in Justice League.
Yeah, and the way they did Cyborg was crazy.
Gosh,
I don't think we talked about
yeah.
that, but wow. That was probably one of my favorite parts, actually, in the movie. I love the story with his parents and all that. That was great. And his armor was different, right? They improved it?
He looked a lot better in this
I think
version.
just the CGI was
just
better.
The CGI, yeah.
They made him look more bulkier. Like in the other one, he's kind of like his legs are skinnier and his arms are... I don't know. It's just kind of like they made him look...
gangly.
He looked better in this one, obviously, but...
Yeah.
And obviously the biggest change is in Justice League, his dad survives. So there's not even, like, they have a scene at the end where he's smiling at his dad as he's like, "Hey, my armor's different." And then this one is just like, the stakes are higher, and it's just, I don't know. It's just,
well, he's much more of a tragic character
in
the Snyderverse, which a lot of people point at and say, "Oh, that's boring," or "Oh, that's too dark." But I think it just gives him more weight as a character, and at least for me, it made me like care about him as a character more,
or some,
or
I didn't care at all.
Yeah,
I didn't care about him at all.
Yeah,
there was no hero's journey. There was no development of character in the first one. Like, this is millions of miles better. Like, what an improvement.
Well, even that scene that I can't believe they cut, although there is rumors. That some of the stuff they cut because they wanted to use themselves. So like the scene of him giving the money to the mom, they ended up using in, I think, Doom Patrol. There's a cyborg.
Oh, really?
And I think I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I heard someone say that those are things that Jeff Johns was working on. And so some things they cut from the movie, they ended up using in other things. So that to me would like make sense, especially if they had problems with Ray Fisher that now is coming out that there were some issues, for them to be like, hey, well, we have a new cyborg and we're going to give him
we're gonna use these cool
stories.
scenes on this guy.
So there's some things, some rumors of people saying that. And even Joss Whedon was supposed to do a Batgirl movie. And so when Joe Manganiello revealed that Batgirl was going to be in Ben Affleck's movie, they're like, the rewrites that Jeff Johns was doing was to remove Batgirl so that Joss Whedon's movie could have. So they were basically destroying other people's scripts and pulling stuff from other people's scripts so that they could use in their own projects. So that to me is like, that's a reason why some of those things don't make any sense to me. Like, why would you cut that scene and reshoot that scene? It's like, oh, well, because they were trying to use them for their own things, projects. And like, oh, well, this universe is going to die. This storyline is going to die, but we can use these in other things. So,
yeah, it's crazy to me that they like the scene with the mother and then the scene with his mom, like in the car. It's like the things that his mom says to him, like in those scenes, is like his whole character arc, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she's like, you have a good heart, Victor, and I can't wait to see what you become.
Right.
And then he turns into, in what he thinks, he's a monster, right? And then even like when I was watching that scene where he's giving the money to the mom, he's like smiling, and then he walks away, and there's like a couple walking, and they kind of like step back,
look at him like a monster,
and he's like, "Oh shoot! Like let me put my hood on." And then if you notice, all of his representation of himself, anytime he goes in, he's Victor Stone, football player with his Letterman jacket on, like throughout the whole movie until that last scene where he says, "I'm not broken and I'm not alone." He's fully cyborg, so it's like the things that his mom said to him, like he's like, I'm finally embracing, I did become something. And I'm not a monster, I'm something else, and I'm part of something bigger. But just the fact that you would just like, let's just
you look at that like, oh, that's not important.
Yeah.
How could that be interesting to watch?
Yeah.
Well, even like showing him playing football, like that adds to his character that makes him tragic. Like you see how happy he is playing football, being this star, being loved by all these fans, and then that's just ripped away from him. Like taking that out of the theatrical version, it's like you don't get that, that background. And I think that stuff is important for developing a character.
When I think even that scene, like
the dad's not there too, and he looks
right.
At the seat.
Yeah, he's adored by so many. His mom's there, and then he looks over at the empty chair, and he's like, everyone's around him, and he's like deflated. And then that next scene where they're driving home, and I think one of the best moments is when, like, he starts crying. I can't remember what the line is, but she says like, of course he's proud of you, right? And he's like, then why isn't he here? There's that element, and it's right before, he puts his hand out, like he sees it coming, she doesn't. I think those things, when people say stuff like, I hated Cyborg or I didn't like it, it's like, well, then how you're missing these themes that are, again, they're not hitting you over the head with them. It's like just subtle things that you can pick up on, and then if you follow those threads through, it just makes it so much more worth it when you get to that line, like you said. And what you're saying is, these people, my poor broken boy, that's what the mom says. And he's like, I'm not broken, I'm not alone. It's just those threads coming through is just really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people that complain that it's like, oh, well, he's just a kid with daddy issues. I'm like, yeah, look at every single superhero ever.
Or any person.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everyone has dad issues or mom issues. Or
it's almost like a relationship with a parent figure is important in development.
That stuff was relatable.
Yeah.
Like not having your dad there. He's not there. Absent dad. Like that's all relatable stuff that I think I feel like a lot of people would love. Like being like, oh, that's so cool. He is so human. And it's like, he's more human than a lot of the superheroes actually. Even though he's like Cyborg, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that.
When I think even the aspect of him like wanting a father figure. And the cool thing about it, I think, is Batman kind of becomes like the father figure of the Justice League, because he's like bringing these people together, and Flash is the same thing. Like he's in need of a father. His father's in prison, and there's this element. And that same theme is with Aquaman. Like Aquaman at the end of the movie, because of what's happened, is he's like, I'm going to go see my father, because he's seen Cyborg lose his father, and he's like has a father, yet he's like, I'm the rebellious one. The theme of fatherhood is really important in this movie. And even the aspect of Clark is going to be a father. Like Lois is pregnant. There's that play is playing through there.
So wait, sorry, just a random little thing. So yeah, when did she get
Batman
pregnant?
v Superman? There's the scene where they're in the tub.
So it has to be.
It has to be it.
It has to be the tub scene, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it has to be.
So it'd probably be
maybe the 4 months
like
is
4
right,
months,
or
4 or 5 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
3
So
because she's not
actually-
showing, so it's 3-4 months. Guys, come on, man, analyze, baby.
Not showing. So
No, like there's the
was she showing in the movie?
No, but they show that she has like the
Or
the
it was
pregnancy test.
before Clark went to join them, and
no, because she has a pregnancy test, and then they have like at the end in Justice League, she's carrying in boxes. In this version, she's carrying in a baby bassinet thing.
Oof.
And then
Pretty on
and
the
then
nose.
and then
Yeah.
Bruce says, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
So the cool thing too is, so there's a theory I saw, and Zack Snyder kind of confirmed it, but when this is kind of cool. This is why I like these movies. So Superman, when he comes back, he analyzes everybody with his X-ray vision, right?
Yeah.
And he's analyzing us. And so what the people are saying is, when Superman sees Lois, he not only sees her, but he sees that she's carrying his son, that she's pregnant. And so that also brings him back, because when he's looking at her, it would be
look down. He's like,
he kind of has that. And so
either she's cheating on him, or
well, he would know.
the baby had a little like curly cue thing.
And so Zack Snyder has said, yes, that was the idea, is that he sees that she's carrying his son. So I think that's a cool thing too. Yeah. So that theme of fatherhood is throughout every, and Wonder Woman's father is actually in the movie because Zeus is in the movie. So
all together. Wow.
There's the element of their fatherhood is in those.
Sharing coffee with Lois. He's a dad.
probably. Yeah.
Kids.
I just think those, for sure, it is in the
he was
element of
always there for
Flash
her.
and stuff like that. And I just think those.
No, that's cool.
That's a cool thing.
I will say that's one of my favorite character changes from the other version is Aquaman. His feelings towards Cyborg, because in the theatrical movie he's like kind of a jerk to him, and there's no real like resolution between that. It just kind of ends. And this one, it's like you said, like he calls out like, wow, he just lost his dad, and how do we expect him to,
And he asks, hey, how's he? Is he doing okay?
Right,
And he's like, why don't you ask him? But he's like,
That's true.
He cares for so. Yeah, why they cut those things out is
He's not just a surfer bro, easy going. Is that what you're talking about?
Hang 10, bruh.
He's not just like, oh, we're gonna die, but you are
gorgeous.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, how's that any better? But yeah, I mean, so I mean, obviously, I'm gonna watch this movie over and over, and there's gonna be a lot of stuff to analyze, just because I still watch BVS and be like, oh, that's why that's there. And it's cool. That's why I like these movies.
These movies scratch an itch of depth that like I do need like every once in a while. Like you can't just watch like just really fluff, all the time. Like this is something that is unique. And that's why I think honestly, I hope they do the whole Snyderverse. I don't know if they will, but it would be awesome if they did.
Well,
because of the depth.
So,
but it won't be as popular as Marvel movies.
So, well,
that's the downside.
So here's one thing. they're going to have to if they do, they're going to have to change stuff because Zack Snyder released the storyboards of stuff.
Oh, true. He already said everything.
But he said, but this was originally the plan. But do you know what's really
it
cool?
as a flip book.
Do you know what's really cool? So Matt Reeves' Batman. So after Ben Affleck left, they got Matt Reeves to do his own Batman stuff, and he took elements of the script. And the Riddler's in Matt Reeves' Batman. Well, the Riddler was supposed to be in Ben Affleck's Batman, and then the Riddler was supposed to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But what they were going to do with him was going to be really cool. He was going to actually solve the anti-life equation for Darkseid, and it was just going to be like super cool what they were going to do, and that was going to mix. He was going to do some crazy stuff that I think is a good thing they're not doing now. He was actually going to have Bruce Wayne fall in love with Lois, and she was going to be carrying Bruce Wayne's child. So more time had passed.
Yeah, that's why this guy shouldn't be making superhero movies.
But they decided not to do that. But so I'm glad they didn't do that because I was like, that'd be kind of interesting. But I just think that he's already said a lot of stuff has changed, so he has different treatments on what the story would be. So it wouldn't be because he released what they were planning, and the plan was pretty legit. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts? We should probably start wrapping up here.
Yeah. What is the background of your phone, Jonah? Is it of
I don't think
it's Batman, or is it of your child?
It is Batman, actually.
I knew it.
It's Batman.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Well, just to give you guys a little.
Do I have a different? Maybe I have my
perspective on things.
Hey, Star Wars on the inside of the phone. So Star Wars there, and the lock phone is Batman.
Just kind of giving you guys a window into Jonah's life.
I'm sporting Batman on both, so.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I just have
more
my
of a fan than you are.
So do I.
You guys have your dogs? Come on.
We love our dogs more than you love your child.
Yeah, man.
No, I have plenty of pictures of my child. I probably have more Zack Snyder Justice League pictures.
Yeah,
Zack Snyder.
So every time I come up with one, I'm like,
everything.
cool, I'm like, screenshot that. Save that one for later.
Yeah, and believe it or not, we don't always just talk about movies or the Snyder Cut.
That's right. We'll talk about games. We'll talk about
Yeah. This is a kind of a large umbrella of nerd stuff, but we thought that for at least the first episode and many more to come, that we'll talk about the Zack Snyder.
Well, we watched it together with the whole plan of discussing it. So we spent 2 weeks not able to discuss it.
And this is the culmination
and
of
we
like
just
2 or 3 years
and we just
waiting.
scratched the surface, guys, because there's way more.
Next week, Justice is Black, Gray. What is it called?
Justice is Gray.
We're gonna talk about that one.
Hey, I think you guys should watch it if you.
I think I will.
I'll give it a shot.
If you got 4 hours to spare, maybe you guys don't have to watch the whole thing.
Sitting around.
But
Real quick, last question: does it bother you that Wonder Woman absolutely murders dudes in these movies?
no,
Because I know people complain about that.
no, So
She murdered people in her
guy-
own movie.
She throws that guy against the wall, and his blood, his head explodes. He's dead.
Here's the thing, and so we watched last night. I bought the steelbook for a Wonder Woman 84, because I got to get steelbooks right. And we were watching that, and so I liked it. But after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm like, they took away her sword in 84. She has it in the first one. Zack Snyder's team, like fight choreographers, actually worked on the original Wonder Woman movie, and then they didn't on this one. And you can totally tell that in Wonder Woman, when she's like taking out Nazis and like the window smash, and her fights match what Zack Snyder does because it was the same team. In Wonder Woman 84, she's using a rope a lot, saving people, which is fine. But I just think Zack Snyder has said she's a god killer. Like, he released that picture of her with severed heads, when she was in the Crimean War or something like that. So I'm like, I like the fact that she's the god killer. And here's the other thing, too. He says specifically in that moment that he's not going to stop. Right? They're terrorists. There's no way to negotiate with terrorists. And he says, I'm not going to stop. He gets another clip in to keep shooting. So she's like, you're not going to stop. I'm not going to let you kill these children. So she has to kill him. That to me is like, even the guy when she has him in the rope and he's like, we're gonna we don't have any demands. We're just gonna blow it up.
Couldn't
right?
she just like break his arms and legs?
Yeah, dude.
Why keep him around?
Okay.
Then he gets out and he's in a wheelchair and he can still get a bomb.
He's got a mouth.
Do you see the guy in BVS that was in a wheelchair and ended up blowing up the whole Capitol? See?
True. That is true.
So it doesn't bother me because I'm like, yeah, that's what Zack Snyder established her as, ruthless. She is the daughter of
she's a warrior.
Zeus.
Yeah.
She's an Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care either. Just I know people complain about that all the time. So
yeah. Okay. Well, real quick, you just want to kind of give a score on the movie, like out of 10. Corey, you go ahead.
I'll start. I think I will give it, considering it was really long, and I will not deduct points on some of the CGI stuff because of the situation.
Sure.
Like the unique
COVID, bro.
COVID. I'll give it a 9.3.
Wow.
Yeah. Woo. Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Might be inflated. No. I think that's accurate.
Now I feel
For
like
me.
I have to go above you now.
If you say 10, I'm gonna.
No, I was going to give it a 9, but now you went for
Really?
0.3. Now I'm going to have to go 9.5.
Oh, were we not doing decimals? Guys, if we're going to score every movie we watch, we're going to have to do that.
Well, here's
I do mine at a 5. So
okay, well, we'll do a
gosh.
conversion. Yeah. Go ahead, Choop.
I think it's a solid 9.
Okay.
I hate rating things though, but
if we're not, are we
That's
doing
a rookie
decimals?
score, by the way.
Oh, yeah, let's do decimals.
that's a rookie score.
You got to do
Oh, sorry,
decimals.
9.15.
Wow.
Oh,
That's great.
So here's your
dude, round up.
like clearly I'm going to be biased, so
Yeah, 100%.
I'm saying 9.5.
That's really good.
I thought you were gonna say 10.
I know, me too.
No, I think Man of Steel is still my favorite out of the three.
I was gonna.
I think Man of
It's like
Steel,
a 9.8
Man of
or
Steel.
something for you.
No, I would give Man of Steel a perfect movie.
Wow.
I would put Man of Steel
liar.
at like a really high 9. Justice League is right below it, so I'd probably put Justice League at around a 9.6, 9.7.
Really high.
Wow.
Man, can I change my score? I'm feeling really.
You want to go lower?
I feel dishonest.
7. There you go.
I feel like a 9, like an 8.9 now.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm taking it back.
Jonah, you want to
mean,
go
all-
lower?
Can I do that?
All these numbers are just. I mean, what?
It matters for future movies that we review.
Well, what
This is
I'm screwed,
we're building our credibility.
Yeah, you're just going to be a 9.8.
Well, anyone that listens to this is going to be like, "Hey, he said Man of Steel was a perfect movie at 10." So anything
There's
that
no
they think
perfect
is better,
movie.
they're going to be like, "Oh, he gave Avengers a 7."
Avengers.
So I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. You give Avengers like a 4.
Yeah, true.
No, I enjoyed Avengers, but I never went back to watch it. It's like most Marvel movies, I never go back to watch.
Well, maybe if you did, you'd actually learn something.
True. The more you know.
It's true.
Cool. Well,
awesome.
thanks for listening, guys. This is our first episode, and hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back next week.
See ya.
Bye.
So, yep.